Hello, good morning, and welcome to day 8 of the GBDURO. It is 8 o'clock in the morning on the nose. I'm going to keep this to a really quick one because I'm off away to do my own race this morning. I won't be challenging any podiums or anything, but I'm doing the Scottish National Gravel Championships. So we'll be away from the computer till late afternoon. And thought I should get something quick out here. So no pictures, no big story updates, but just want to check in on where our dots are, what happened overnight, and what I'm expecting throughout the day so that I'm not leaving it totally untouched. Let's see. So at the moment, we've got Tom has left Conton. That's the last resupply, and is making his way up into Caithness and Sutherland, which is pretty impressive. It's all coming together. I said yesterday evening in my written update that barring catastrophe, I expected him to finish by about the same time today. That was based on 2023 stage times for stage 4, which begins at Fort Augustus, and were between 18 and 20 hours for the race leaders. I did caveat it by saying, obviously in the stage format, they were starting fresh and went straight through, no sleep. Tom probably wasn't necessarily in the same position to be able to attempt something like that because he hadn't had a big full rest in the previous few days. The other thing I totally forgot to acknowledge is this section of the route here. So I'm going to zoom in about as much as I can. I think Henry alluded to this yesterday, mentioned it a bit, saying that there are 2 portions in the handbook of the route that are specifically not recommended to attempt at night. One of them being the back of Great Dun Fell, talked about being the Bog of Eternal Stench, stolen from Princess Bride, and I think named by Steve White the year I rode. We've seen our riders picking through it. It's a fairly difficult walking path that really is not meant to even roll a bike into. The other, which I have no advanced knowledge of, is this bit here along, I'm going to butcher the Gaelic pronunciation here, Lochuri, Lochari, something like that. I'm hoping to get a guest in who's a real Gael, who's going to help me out with all that. But for now, all I'm going to do is point at this and say in 2023 and before, our route took us from Altnahara up the tarmac road over this turning and round along to Kinbrace. So it was all tarmac through there. And this is a fun addition, which I know is partly designed to draw some really fantastic photographs. I think it's very picturesque in there. But we've already seen that our riders have been advised not to take it on at night, which tells me it's going to be difficult. I would, if I had more time, go and look at Komoot or something to see if there's rider reports. But I thought maybe the most interesting, relevant thing to look at here would be the Strava heat map. So where we see a dark, for those that are not familiar, where we see dark blue lines, like for instance, this is a Monroe ascent. So I've got this set to all sports right now. Monroe ascent there has a fairly deep dark blue line along this path, means lots of people use it and log it on Strava fairly often. So it will be a dark blue line. Can see slightly less dark on the road, and that's just because we're so far up into the Highlands that there are less cyclists logging there. But it is a well-traveled road for cyclists given the area. This line, the really faint blue one here, that kind of doesn't look that much different. In fact, let's go change it. I can change my settings to make it hot. Done. So that it doesn't look the same as the watercourses, because it's slightly easy to confuse in there. So we see, is that the right color? Let's try a different one. Let's try orange. Done. Yeah, there we go. So we see deep, deep dark orange. That's gone red up the Monroe. We see fairly solid red-orange along the road. We see a fairly faint little line along here, which is the path they're going to take. And in particular, it seems to be the most faint along the loch. So I'm going to guess that is a shoreside path that is some parts beach, some parts walking through the heather, sometimes easy to find the path, sometimes not. From here, it starts to look a bit darker, and I suspect maybe we're talking about a mountain bike path, some single track, some Land Rover, some sort of a forestry access or hunting estate, something like that, that's going to be a bit more usable. So again, zooming back out, we can see how dark the roads are and how light, especially in the middle, just there along the loch, that part is. So I suspect that's going to slow Tom's stage 4 time down even more than just not being starting fresh from an overnight at a checkpoint. And then there's the question of how long did he stop last night? I had a look at one point in the night, not leaderboard, I want replay. I had a look at one point in the night to see if he was moving, and the dot had gone grey in and around Conton. So I wondered if he was maybe waiting there for those shops to open. There's a petrol station with a decent-sized shop there, which is the last real resupply on the entire route. There's a pub in Rose Hall where you could stop during business hours for a meal, but if you want to pick up anything to carry, it's going to be Conton or John O'Groats. And so I wondered last night if maybe we were watching him camp out there, waiting for those shops to open. I can't quite tell. Again, Henry alluded to this yesterday, saying that the dot watcher system, the dot tracking, tends to show people moving even when they're not. Sometimes we see that as dots bouncing around, little tiny movements, just errors, margin of error in the GPS track. Looks like movement. This one last night, if I play it through, it doesn't look so much like that to me. It looks like he's continuing to move, although perhaps that's some very smart algorithm trying to predict that he must be moving along the track, because we see his pace picks up again here in just a moment. Now he's gone. So I don't know if he stopped and waited for those shops to open. I don't know when they open. If he was waiting, he was gone by 7 a.m. But it's a petrol station, so could have been. If you want to join into some commentary there, then maybe have a look at opening hours. I'm sure you could find the content stores online and see when they do open. Reese had a much longer sleep just here at the gatehouse at Kinlochnagan. I played it through. I will not play it through again and slow everybody down, but looking at those timestamps, it looked like it was about 10 p.m. to 4 a.m. So nice long sleep there. I wonder if he knows that Timo, now in third, had reported being absolutely shattered after going through the night the previous night. And so I think bedded down for a nice long sleep in Calendar. And at the time that I initially picked this up, he still wasn't moving. Where is Timo? Okay, Timo's moving, has ticked off this mad section, which is fairly smooth. But yeah, he's moved pretty quick just since I got out of bed through there. So had a nice long sleep, is now looking to make a big push. I sort of wonder if he's done one through the night, if he's going to maybe now try to push straight through to the end without a stop. It's a beast of a push, but doable if you're the kind of person who does that. Rich picking his way through the lanes, getting into Sterling, and then will find his own way into what I'm calling the Badger Divide bit. I want to be wary not to call it the Badger Divide, because I know that Ed was not specifically looking to replicate the Badger when he plotted that. It's just, as Sam and I were saying, all those tracks get reused in all those routes. So my tongue twister that I predicted in writing last night was that we've got Rich, Ross, Roop, and Rob. Rich, Ross, Roop, and Rob all in a row. I think Timo would love to try to overtake Reese and make sure that it's Reese, Rich, Ross, Rupp, and Rob. Oh, I'm done. I'm not going to try that. I was going to perform a feat of articulation this morning, but I should focus on my own race instead of doing silly stuff in a recording booth. Yeah, I don't think Timo's going to make that overtake. It's a heavy gap to close between here and the end, but again, we know Reese has got brakes issues, so at any point that could become more of a problem that slows him down a bit more, though he seems to be handling it really well so far. Where else are we? Mike and Dan made some good progress through the night. They're coming into Kielder now. We see Joe and Roman finally making their way up Great Dunfell. In fact, Joe's doing the tough bit already. Looks like she got an early start and knocked out the climb so that she can finish the bog trot and maybe make it to Garrigill or Alston by breakfast. Is that Alston? I can't actually see that, and I'm not sure how I would pronounce it anyway. Where else are we? We've got one more making his way out of... I saw someone mention Pennines and Yorkshire separately yesterday, and I realize it is all called the Pennine Bridleway, but if you're a bit more local to the north of England, then probably you might be taking issue with me calling it all Pennines, because I think it's very much Pennine Bridleway going through the Pennines and then making its way into the Yorkshire Dales, Yorkshire Moors. I'm showing the limits of my geography basically stop at the Scottish border, so my apologies for that. But hopefully that means that those of you that have been much more familiar with the geography further south have known what I should be talking about, and that as we're crossing into Scotland, I'm able to provide a bit of additional expertise. Let's take a quick look at the weather, and then I will wrap this up. Where are we? Oh, that's a good zoom level to show us where we are. Looking at wind, it's a headwind, but it's not really moving. I guess a crosswind further south. Tom's face slightly, Reese's face slightly, but really not much moving around there. Into the end of today. Could be isolated patches of wind, no wind, gusts in the glens, who knows. Change that layer. Going to look at rain. That's all the way out to Monday. Sunday, bringing it back. Saturday, seeing no rain. And temperature. How are things looking? It's been so much more pleasant the last couple of days. Still hot, but hot for the UK, hot for Scotland. We're at 15 in the morning, most of these places. Our riders that are coming through into the borders now are 16, 17. That's predicted 10 a.m. this morning. If I click ahead to 3 p.m., we're going to get into the 20s, 22, which is a nice warm day in the Highlands and not oppressive, though it depends how sticky it might get. I guess the other thing to note, which I didn't mention in anything I said yesterday, I don't think, but was a topic of some discussion amongst the photographers, is since we've got basically no wind, the midges are pretty bad here in the Highlands. I say here in the Highlands, I'm in Glasgow. Midges are pretty bad in the Highlands, or anywhere that midges tend to hang about. So I'm guessing that's going to stop our riders from taking breaks that last too long. We might see some photos of midge nets in some Instagram stories as the day goes along. But overall, it looks like a fairly pleasant day, a really fantastic day to go and do some cycling. I'm looking forward to my ride, and I hope that most of our riders are looking forward to theirs too. Hopefully no more major mechanical issues throughout the day. Hopefully no more scratches. Really rooting for all our riders. You can see the WhatsApp group that they're all talking to each other in is getting increasingly positive. Each new scratch is met with more and more messages of support and congratulations because I guess as each new person scratches, they've accomplished even more before doing so. I find it a bit sad looking back at our trail of grayed out dots. Looks like the field of fallen soldiers along the route. We hope they're all doing well, enjoying watching, and I will catch up with all of you again soon. That's been 15 minutes, so I'm just about on schedule for my morning tasks. I'm going to get away and get ready for my own thing. I'll see you all later. Thanks very much. Have a good one.